Sup peeps, and welcome to a Minecraft time lapse with me, your host Zod19. Now I've been wanting to do this for a while and just never really got around to it until today. This is my first experience doing a time lapse. Bear with me if I ramble on about something random this whole time. But yeah, so I picked out a plot of land on the Craft server that I have with my wife, and set her character up to record, and I'm just running around on her computer, using World Edit to clear out the land and to make a flat space. I'm going to be using World Edit in this every now and then to count my blocks or to do large clearing like this, but mostly I won't be using it for the actual building because it's clunky and I don't really know all the commands, so I'm just going to ignore it for the most part. In this first episode, I'm simply going to be laying out the plot of land, outlining it in stone brick, and laying out the design for the castle. I decided for this time lapse to build a castle. To just, I don't know, demonstrate my abilities as a builder, which sounds intelligent when I say it like that, but really I'm just I suck and I'm lazy. I use a lot of repeating patterns and I have to stop every now and then to count because I'm awful at counting and terrible at World Edit. I'm just going to lay out a couple of towers, some walls, a little guardhouse, the main living area space too. Right now I'm building the front two towers. What we're looking at over in the left where the water is going to be the entrance to the castle slash manor slash lord's thing, and over in the back where the mountains are is going to be the back of the castle. Now I'm in creative mode and I've got the game set to peaceful. That doesn't stop Jacko-men from spawning, since they're a thing here in Craft. But it's okay. They don't get in the way too many times. They do until I start lighting up the area, and then they kind of just piss off and leave me alone. But as you can see, they're starting to pile up here. I just laid down the outlines for the front wall, and I found the center of the castle, and now I'm counting out where to build the entry guardhouse kind of thing. Except I put it in the wrong spot because apparently I can't count, and that's not going to be an uncommon thing throughout this. I don't even remember when it is that I realized that the damn thing is off by like 4 or 5 blocks, and I go to fix it and I end up having to fix it like 3 times because it's still off and all that junk. But I run to the back and I clear off a little bit of land that was floating in the air because World Edit didn't cut it out, and then I make my way to the back and I start outlining where I want the back 2 towers to be. I end up laying down the outline for this first tower twice because I end up making it too big. Started with a 30 by 30 and I decided in the end to switch down to a 25 by 25. Just to kind of save room and to give me something to build for, or some buildable area for the house in the center. This is at 2.5 times speed. The original duration of this video when I recorded it raw was about 52 minutes and some odd seconds, and now it's like 21 minutes and some odd seconds. And like I said, for this first video, all I'm doing is just laying out the blueprints, marking down where I want some doorways and entryways to be. This is just to have a feel. Here I am fixing the guardhouse. trying to get it correct, using world edit every now and then to count for me. Because I fail at counting many times. I'm going to fly up, take a look at it, realize it's still off, and fly back down. Yeah, I chose the Crunnycraft server to do this on, simply because the wife and I have the server ready to go, and I don't have to make a new server with a flat world in order to build on this. Just something I can jump right into and build. And this castle is actually going to be built near where our first house was in the original version of our Crundycraft server. At one point we had been living in like this house that we had taken over in the village, which is on the other side of the lake, though you can't see it. You might see it later in like a different episode when the camera angle changes a couple times. But in this one, you won't be able to see it. We were living there for a while, and then we moved to where our current location is, which is a mansion, and I'm currently way over next to the mansion making another castle, and this one's our castle that we'll might live in later. It's almost complete. I just have to decorate some rooms and stuff and build the basement. Alright, I'm back here at the castle. I built the second back thing. I fixed the guardhouse in the front. It's now perfectly symmetrical, and I'm building the walls on the left side, and then I'm going to build the walls in the back. I'm just counting them to make sure everything is proper and set. At one point I thought about making it the wall like on the inside, but I decided to stick it on the outside as well, just to make this kind of a box-like area, and not have like a backyard in quotations beyond the wall, because there's a mountain there, and mountains don't really make for good walls. So I decided to just make it the same distance all the way around. And it was about this point that I decided I was going to make the walls too thick for the actual walls themselves, simply because the inside of the walls was a little too big of an area, that if I shrank the size of the walls on the outside, it would leave too much space on the outside of the walls and too much space on the inside of the walls. That would be dead space that I wouldn't be using. So making them too thick here shrinks the inside portion to, I think, 5 blocks across. With the wall being too thick, makes the walls 9 thick all the way through. I ended up increasing the thickness of the guardhouse as well, but I don't do it for any of the other towers because I need the inside space to lay out designs and stuff. And I believe at some point, right about here, I marked the center again. Yeah. I'm going to do a big archway for the beginning guardhouse on both sides, so you can just walk right through and there'll be the castle. It'll have decoration, make it look like there's a gate that drops down, you know. Minecraft, there's limitations. So there. I've got everything marked out for the walls and the outside towers in the guardhouse. Now I'm actually laying out the design, or the floor pattern for the living space on the inside for the main house section. It took me a little while to decide on like how big I wanted the inside house to be, because in the current castle that I'm building way over there, it's huge, it's colossal, it's easily twice the size of this one, and I have a lot of dead space that I'm not using because it's so big. I believe it was at this point that I decided to add 2 little towers in the front of the house to make it like a fat U shape, just to have like some more area to play with, to have somewhere that I could dedicate to a couple of staircases, so I wouldn't have to cut into the inner area to make staircases. End up laying those out, making the diagonal block patterns on the inside to make sure they're perfectly square. You can do this with smaller squares to make sure that they stay squared. Mark the center of the house, and start placing down some blocks to mark out a mud room, which would be the technical entrance to the house. You come in from the left and the right into like a little foyer, a little mud room, and then you go through an actual set of doors that leads into the house itself. Now I'm going to be laying out the design for the house. If I had thought ahead, I would have moved the camera, I say camera in quotations, in closer so you could see this a little better. But considering that I'm not actually going to be getting to the main house building until episode 5 or 6, it's not a problem. Wow, I've been going on for like 11 minutes straight. Here I am using white wool to mark out where I want doorways to be. I believe I use black wool to mark where I want a set of stairs to start, and then I use red wool for archways, although I haven't set down little reminders for myself yet. I get to it eventually. Right now I'm trying to decide where I want to put the staircase and how big I want to make the entrance to the house to be. Since it's going to be like a little kind of mudroom in front, and then the actual entryway, which has 2 halls going off to the left and the right to go to the staircases, I decided not to make the grand staircase, in quotations, to be too big. But after the first placement of blocks, I realized it wasn't big enough. There was, again, dead space, and the staircase wouldn't have looked as grand as I would have liked it to be. So I ended up placing the black wool where I did. And there you see I went to the front, just off of the plot of land, and put down 2 sets of wool, white and black, as well as some signs on them, though you couldn't see it, to mark where I wanted to remind myself that white is for doorways and black is for stairs. And I eventually go back over and put red down to mark where I want to remind myself that red is for archways. Here I am setting down some white wool, again to mark some doorways, to try and figure out what I wanted to do with this. And there I'm placing the red down to remind myself that red's for archways. I'm just very quickly mapping out. Jeez, look at all the jack-o'-men just wandering around. They're like skeletons with jack-o'-lanterns for heads. They're not aggressive, so they spawn during peaceful, but they make such a racket. It's horrible. It's like the sound of someone sawing on a wet log times 1,000. It's horrendous, and it just keeps going and going when they're near you. But alright, now I'm marking off a room to the left. When you come in, the mansion is going to be accessible via a archway. I believe that is the library, and the one to the right is going to be a lounge area. Ended up having to relay it down a couple times because I miscounted the blocks. All of the rooms are like an odd number square, so that if I wanted to do a 3-door or a 3-block archway, it would work fine. And if I wanted double doors, I could put down a spot for that. I'm placing in the bathrooms right now, that little room over there, and then I'm going to do another little room over on the other side for another bathroom. This is just for the main levels, for people to have room to go use the bathroom. This is a mix between a modern-ish castle and like a medieval-like castle. There would still be rooms or closets for chamber pots, but some of the decorations I'm going to be using in the next episode when I'm building the guest tower, or more modern in style. I drew a lot of inspiration from the Hinkle Castle and Onkia Castle, whatever it was called, Oneka Castle, something like that, for building these. Definitely, there's a lot of the Hinkle Castle in the other castle that I'm building, with its shape and design in the front. Let's see, where am I? There I am. Just wandering around. I'm placing down signs to remind myself what room is what, because I know I'm not going to get to this until the end, and I don't want to forget. A couple little hallways. The back room on the right, just past the bathroom where I was standing just a second ago, is going to be the kitchen. The room I was in just a second ago is going to be the dining hall, a big grand dining hall that you can get to from passing through the lounge or the library. And then on the very other side of it, the top left-hand corner, is going to be the slave quarters. Or not the slave quarters, the servant quarters. Wow. that was terrible. That's where the servants, such as the cooks, the maids, and the butlers, are going to live. There's not very many rooms, and they're all really cramped, but that's what you would expect from a servant's quarters. They're hired live-in help. If this was ancient times, the rooms would be even smaller. They'd even be bunked up in rooms. But considering it's a more modern castle, they're slightly more spacious, meaning they have more than an inch width between their bed and the wall. So it'll all be fine. I'm going to lay out the design for the rooms, and unfortunately I'm too far away to actually see those properly unless you're in full screen. If you're watching on your phone, I apologize. I really should have moved the camera in closer. But I'm laying down all the white wool. It's just like a splash of just white sheep jism everywhere to mark where the doorways for each of those rooms is going to be. The very back wall between the two huge towers is going to be like a private servant's hallway to get from the servants' quarters over to the kitchen, in order to deal with that without having to pass through the house all the time and annoy the owners of the castle. It was around this time, I think, that I decided what I was going to do with each of the towers. The one I'm standing in right now is going to be the servants' dining hall, as well as the guards. The one in the very top back left is the guest tower. The one I'm standing in just then is the jail, and the one I'm coming to right now is going to be the guard barracks. This is where the guards are going to live and get their armor. The jail's on the other side, just across from the guardhouse in the center, the entryway, because that's where the guards are going to be most often. We'll lead them off to the left. And there I fly back to the thing to adjust the sign one more time, because it took 3 or 4 tries before I finally decided on the layout. And these are subject to change. I could move the jail underneath the guard barracks as like a basement room, and then have that tower way over there be like a second guest house. I'm not really sure if that's what I want to do, because I want the guests to be able to get into the castle proper whenever they need to. Just laying down a couple more pieces of white wool to mark where I want the doorways to be, to lead out into the courtyard to go towards the guest tower, and then marking the entryway to the guest tower itself from the outside. It is not accessible from anywhere except those doors. Just marking down some hallways there, some doorways into the walls to lead towards the various tower bits. We're almost at the end of this video. I'm going to start wrapping up the recording here. Alright, and in this final wall over on the top left, I end up dividing that wall in half, one for stables for horses and the other side for carriage storage, where they can drop off the carriages to be maintained and so on. But yeah, thank you all for watching, peeps. If you liked this time lapse and you want to see more time lapses like this one, be sure to click that subscribe button. I hope you like the music that goes with it. I haven't decided just yet because I'm recording the narration first. Maybe I'll do like some dubstep quietly in the background to keep you entertained between when I mumble a little bit here and a little bit there. I have lost track of myself. There I am. Just flying around, trying to decide. I think this was about the point where I decided I was going to stop recording from this camera angle and move to a different one so I could work on the back tower. Anyways, thank you all for watching, peeps. If you liked the video, please click that like button, and if you want to see more content from me, your host, Zon19, be sure to click that subscribe button, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye!